Okay, we're gonna do this. We got this. One more video. Actually, the last one, and this time we're gonna talk about how to add a parts list. So the purpose of a parts list is essentially what it says. It's to give you a list of all the parts that are going to be necessary to complete this, okay? So I don't know how many of you have ever built Legos before, but Legos give you tons of parts lists. Every time that they give you direction, they tell you exactly which pieces you need to be able to build that part, whatever that step is, okay? They may give you a list that's like, here are all the pieces in this set, but then they give you individual parts lists for each step. So what you can do with a drawing is kind of a similar thing, where you can give people a list of like, okay, here's all the things that go into making this. Make sure you have these first, okay? So to add a parts list to a drawing, okay, what you're gonna do is go to the Annotate tab, and you are gonna find where it says Parts List. It just says it creates a parts list and places it in the drawing. So you're gonna click that, and now you're gonna select a view. Now you got an orange arrow, so that means you need to make a click. So I'm gonna select just this OB1 view, okay? And what it's gonna do is access in your folder, in your computer, all of the things that go into making that view that you selected. Now the thing that I selected was this lightsaber, which I built as just one part, okay? There's not a lot that goes into it. This is not a super advanced model. But then I'm gonna hit OK, and we're gonna see what shows up. So I get this box, and I'm just gonna hit left click on this box. And as you see, the parts list says that there's one item and there is one quantity of it. The QTY is the quantity. And it's just called Obi-Wan's lightsaber, okay? Because that's what I modeled this off of, okay? That is all that it is, okay? If this thing had a bunch of different components, if it was an assembly that had a bunch of things going into it, it would have a longer parts list. And then it doesn't have anything in the description, and that's okay. So we'll do that one more time. All you're gonna do is go up to Annotate, in a drawing file, Parts List, select the file that you want to make the parts list for, and then hit OK. Left click to place it, and there you go. Now you've got your parts list. So, explain why it doesn't matter which view you choose as the basis for the parts list if you have a number of different views of a single part. So, like I said, if I had a bunch of different views of this lightsaber, it wouldn't matter which one I picked because they all have the same parts in them. Okay, they are all just Obi-Wan's lightsaber. Same if I had something else that was just like a bunch of things put together. It doesn't matter what I choose as the view as long as each of the views is of the same thing. Now, if I made a parts list for this wheel, it would be different because this wheel has different parts than Obi-Wan's lightsaber does. So let me see if I can show you by placing a new base view for something. We'll use this World War II badge. Okay, fine. Or we won't. Part modeling. Let's open this cover and put this cover in here. Cool, now we've got this cover. I'm gonna make a parts list for that. Parts list. I wanna select this view. And as you see, this part is called Shell, and it is a different parts list than the one that we made for Obi-Wan's lightsaber. Cool. Just delete this because I don't need it. Okay, but you will be asked periodically on an exam to edit a parts list, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. So what you're going to do is right-click on this and say Edit Parts List. And now you're going to get this weird looking thing. Okay, so now we have something called the column chooser, group settings, sort, export, table layout. Only thing that we're going to worry about is what is called the column chooser. Now the column chooser lets you decide which columns to add to this parts list. So as you can see, our selected properties right now are item, quantity, part number, and description. And if you look at our parts list, we have item, quantity, part number, description. Now I might ask you, what is the, I don't know, I might ask you who is the end designer. So we're gonna add designer in here. You might say like, well, what is the mass? If you don't want to have to, it wants you to add the mass to the parts list, We're going to add mass in there, and then why not? We'll do volume as well. It might ask you what the volume of the part is. And whatever you add to the column chooser is going to show up in the parts list. So when I hit OK, apply, and as you see, my parts list now got a bit different. Having some trouble moving this over. So as you can see. But yeah, as you can see, oh, there we go. So we have our parts list, and as you can see, now instead of just having item, quantity, part number, description, it now has the designer, the mass, and the volume. So if you're ever asked the mass, this is another way that you can get it, is by adding it in the column chooser. So all that you need to know about this is know how to find the column chooser, know how if it asks you something like, give me the designer for this part, you can add that to the parts list and then get the answer from there. So if this file asks you, who is the designer for this? That's a pretty weird question to ask, right? How am I going to know that? You know that by looking at the parts list, going into the parts list, adding the designer column, and then finding out that it is student who is the one that actually designed it. Okay? So, what do you need to select to change what shows up in the parts list? You need to choose the column chooser. That column chooser is really, really important to know where that is. And that column chooser is located at number 1. And you made it. You did it. You're at the end of drawings. Once you take the badge assessment, of course, you will likely be ready to take the certification exam. That is, of course, unless you did this kind of out of order. If so, great, go ahead and move on to your next badges. Or, well, you should do the badge for this first, but you catch my drift. Great. Whenever you are finished with all of the badges, including the badge assessments, let me know. I can get you started and hopefully get you to take the certification exam soon. Awesome. See you later.